Hello, colleagues. Today you gather to address an issue that transcends borders and affects all of humanity, the climate crisis. For small island developing states like Barbados, the stakes are particularly high. We stand at the front line of an existential crisis, a crisis exacerbated by our unique geographic vulnerabilities, and indeed that commands too much of our debt to GDP ratio in our ability to be able to resolve how we become resilient to adapt to it. The impacts of the crisis are already apparent in our daily lives. Rising sea levels threaten to submerge our coastal communities. Increased frequency and severity of storms jeopardize our infrastructure, our livelihoods, and our ecosystems. As our oceans warm, coral reefs, our lifeblood, are dying, compromising the very essence of our culture and our economy. Just in the past 3 months, we've had Hurricane Beryl with a trail of destruction across Barbados's coast, with much storm surge affecting all of our coastal infrastructure. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, badly damaged, especially in the Grenadines, particularly in Union Island and Mayro, Grenada and Carriacou, and then of course Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. The combined economic losses are estimated at over $30 billion. The insurance cost of $2.7 billion in the United States, and then of course over $510 million in the Caribbean alone. Not to mention, of course, my friends, that regrettably, people actually lost lives. Then, of course, we had Hurricane Helen, with estimated economic losses upward of $34 billion, and with insurance costs of $3 to $6 billion and lost lives still being counted. And as if that were not enough, we then had Hurricane Milton, the impact of which is still being assessed, but we suspect it will even be higher. And yet, even after all of these 3 hurricanes, even after the wildfires, the climate deniers are still dwelling amongst us. My friends, amazing. Let me tell you this. We will not sit idly by and become victims of this crisis. We do what we islanders always do in the face of adversity. We face it head on, and we come out on the other side to tell the tale. Our communities have shown remarkable ability to adapt and to innovate. However, our resilience is being tested to its limits as we struggle to respond to the ongoing challenges of these climate adversities. Given this, our ability to adapt and recover from climate impacts is crucial. It is crucial for protecting vulnerable populations and ensuring that hard-earned development gains are simply not lost. My friends, this is possible. We have evidence of such responses in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, and indeed here in the Caribbean. Compounding these challenges is our economic reality with relatively high debt to GDP ratios. Many of us face significant fiscal constraints that inhibit our capacity to invest in the critical infrastructure necessary to build resilience, to develop the adaptive strategies, and indeed to pursue the technological innovations needed for climate resilience. Our economies are often reliant on tourism, on fisheries, on agriculture, all sectors that are profoundly affected by the climate crisis. It is crucial that we find pathways to relieve our debt burdens, enabling us to allocate resources towards addressing climate challenges without compromising economic stability. Institutions, both local and international, must therefore be allowed to understand our unique circumstances and provide support that reflects our specific needs. And that is why we speak so often on these issues, because the advocacy is important to sensitize. It is why it is so important as well for you to lend your support to the Bridgetown Initiative, which aims to reform the global financial system to better support developing countries in building resilience against the climate impacts and allowing us, therefore, to achieve these sustainable development goals. The Bridgetown Initiative equally pushes for a proactive approach to debt relief to help nations avoid the crisis and to create the fiscal space to invest in critical resilience imperatives. And indeed, it pushes us to ensure that we can change how we assess debt sustainability and focus on identifying a financing mix that allows countries to achieve their sustainable development goals and to become resilient. We have also considered in this initiative the push for multilateral development banks to implement capital adequacy framework and to ensure that they can adjust the equity to loan ratio, as I suspect is being done now by the World Bank, to unlock additional funding. Even with this, we will need more resources as we push for the new SDR's issuance and completion of the rechanneling of any SDR issuance to multilateral development banks. We will equally need to continue to push for cheaper, longer-term financing in order to build that country-led resilience. And with respect to global solidarity levies, we are investigating their use to be able to preserve global public goods and indeed equally to help us finance the loss and damage fund. My friends, we believe that one of the keys to navigating these formidable challenges lies in a strategic and just energy transition, moving away from a primary dependence on fossil fuels to renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, geothermal, and tidal energy can provide us with a sustainable, resilient energy framework. By investing in and scaling up renewables, we not only mitigate greenhouse gas emissions, but we also decrease our energy dependency and vulnerability to price shocks in the global market. There are many examples of successful clean energy policies. We've seen them in the United States of America with the Inflation Reduction Act with nearly $400 billion for clean energy initiatives, as well as California's Renewable Portfolio Standard with the goal of 100% renewable energy electricity by 2045. There's also the European Green Deal, which is aiming for climate neutrality by 2050. And we can go from country to country. In India, we have the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme, incentivizing domestic PV manufacturing, the National Solar Mission with a target of 100 gigawatts of solar capacity by 2022. And then, of course, in Brazil, there is the Green Mobility and Innovation Program, which promotes biofuels and electric vehicles. But all of these transitions need financing, which most small island developing states and low-income countries struggle to attract. I firmly believe that the issue of just transition needs to be taken very, very seriously. For instance, there are 600 million people in Africa, or indeed almost 43% of the population, that lack access to electricity, with most of them in sub-Saharan Africa. And yet, Africa produces half of the world's cobalt and manganese, as well as other minerals critical to this very same energy transition. It is for this very reason why, under the Bridgetown Initiative, we have been advocating for trade systems to ensure that developing countries can benefit from similar clean energy policies and investments. We know that implementing renewable energy infrastructure creates jobs, it stimulates local economies, and it enhances the resilience of our communities. Imagine, my friends, our islands powered by the sun and the wind, and think of the potential for sustainable economic growth that this transformation can deliver. However, this transition is really not just about energy. It requires us to rethink our entire approach to overall development. By integrating climate adaptation into our development plans, we can ensure our initiatives do not just address immediate concerns, but build long-term sustainability. As we embark on this journey, it is essential for us to work together. I'd like us to embrace the African principle of Ubuntu that I've spoken much about. We need partnerships that foster innovation, shared knowledge, and capacity building. And that is why the principle of Ubuntu is so appropriate, because it establishes that I am only if you are. In addition, we must advocate for policies that provide greater access to climate finance for small island developing states and developing economies, supporting initiatives that empower us to transition seamlessly while strengthening our resilience. Together, we must keep pushing for greater private capital mobilization through project development support, de-risking to reduce overall project financing costs, and guarantees. Without this, we will not move from potential to real projects. And of course, we must stand united to address the issue of uninsurable assets, as this is key to ensuring that investors are able to place their money in increasingly climate vulnerable countries. My friends, I want you to understand that our window to act, yes, is closing, and closing fast. we have to make conscious decisions to reduce our carbon footprints as best we can, to use energy-efficient appliances, and to support clean energy initiatives. We must advocate for the implementation of policies promoting renewable energy and climate resilience. The challenges posed by the climate crisis and our economic circumstances threaten our very existence, as I said at the beginning. Yet through determination, collaboration, and a commitment to ensuring that just transition through renewable energy and a pursuit of sustainable development, I believe, my friends, we have an opportunity to redefine our future. I am confident that not only over these few days, but in the days and months ahead, that you will have more opportunities to co-create and collaborate on quite a bit of what has been shared here and truly make a difference in our communities. I ask you to reflect on the fact that it is only through working together that collectively we can make a difference globally. It is ironic that the person who asked me to do this particular intervention is a former schoolmate of mine, Juliet Daniel. And indeed, you have one of our best there at McMaster. It is that principle of solidarity and togetherness that I believe will guide us safely to being able to ensure that our people become resilient and can ward off the worst excesses of this climate crisis. I thank you.